Okay. All right. So Laura, do you want to start with an intro?
Sure. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Laura Snyder-Smith, and I'm the Events and Marketing Manager for the Kennebunk-Kennebunkport-Arundel Chamber of Commerce. Today we are talking about resumes and rebooting our resume with Anush Hansen of Kennebunk Career Counseling. She specializes in all things careers for people, but especially writing resumes. So today we'll focus on that and take it away.
Thanks, Laura. Hi, everyone. I'm Anush Hansen. As Laura said, I'm a career counselor here in Kennebunk, providing support to people who are looking to move ahead or change their careers, and also helping out with resumes and LinkedIn profiles and other career development services. And I'm here today because the Chamber asked me to provide some tips and information about how to develop an effective resume. So that's what we're going to be talking about. So regardless of sort of where you are in your job search process, whether you're actively looking or just sort of putting feelers out, doing research on different careers, it's always a great idea to have a resume on hand in case something pops up that is an amazing fit for you. Things have changed quite a bit in the last 5 or 10 years in terms of how resumes are ideally set up. The information I'm sharing today primarily comes through the National Career Development Association, which is the organization that credentials different career practitioners and puts out a lot of information about looking for jobs and writing resumes and things like that. So I would say the number one thing to remember when you are writing a resume is that you have to tailor your resume to the specific job that you are applying to. So it doesn't really work these days to have just a standard resume that you blanket send out electronically to 10 or 15 or 20 different jobs. Hiring managers really want to see that you want to work for them, that you want to work in that particular role. So it's really important to pay close attention to how your resume aligns with the job description for the job that you want. Another really important thing to remember is that reviewers only spend an average of 6 to 8 seconds on each resume. That's not a lot of time. So when they are doing that first pass of the 100 or 200 people who've applied to the job, they're looking at your resume for about 7 seconds. With that said, it's important to remember that you don't have to include everything you've ever done on your resume. This is really a summary of your most relevant skills, your key accomplishments that relate to the job that you are applying to. So those are sort of my overarching 3 tips before you even get started with a resume. So I wanted to go over the 3 different types of resumes that are out there. The first is a chronological resume, and I think that's what most of us are used to. This is where you're just listing your job history from most recent job, working backwards in time. The second type is called a functional resume or a skills-based resume, and this is a resume that categorizes your experience and what you can offer to an employer by the type of skill that you are trying to share with them. And then a combination resume is exactly that. It's a combination of the two, of chronological and skills-based resume. And usually this kind of combination resume will put some key skills and sort of pull some specific keywords out and put them at the top of the resume, and then you move on to the chronological piece. And so I have some examples of each of these 3. And I'm sorry this is a little fuzzy. It's hard to blow these up big enough so you can see, but this person has done a chronological resume. So you can see that he's got his most recent position listed at the very top with some bullets describing what he did, and then moving down to his next job. Then he's got some of his skills and education and other activities over to the right there. But this is, I'd say, the most common type of resume. This kind of resume is probably best for those that have like a really clear, streamlined work history that paints a very clear story of what they've done and where they're headed. Someone who's been in the same industry for a long time and wants to continue in that industry. This type of format is fine, is really good. This is a functional resume. So this person has listed a summary statement at the top, some of their education, some of their credentials and skills, and then sort of halfway down the bottom, they've got their experience. And if you can see it, it's categorized by communications, research, and overseas aid, then public relations, promotions, and media, and then teaching and organization. And then at the bottom, he's just got a brief synopsis of his work history. This kind of resume can work well for someone who maybe doesn't come from the field that they're, for the job that they're applying to. So they really want to highlight some of their transferable skills, as opposed to listing their current job first, which, if it's not really as relevant, it makes sense for them to put it down at the bottom. This type of format is not as common, and some hiring managers might not really understand it. So I would only use this in very specific situations. Then this resume is an example of a combination resume. So you can see that they have a summary, they have highlights, and so that's sort of the functional resume piece where they're kind of pulling out key skills and what they can offer to the employer. And then about halfway down the screen, that's when she lists her chronological experience, starting with the most recent position. So those are the three types of resume that are out there. In terms of general layout, one page is ideal for a resume. It's not always easy to do, but again, remembering that the typical resume is only going to be looked at for 6 to 8 seconds, the chances that they're going to get to the second page are, not super, super high. So making sure that you pare down as much as you can and only put the most important information on your resume, trying to keep it to 1 page, 2 pages max. An exception to that is if you're applying to like an academic position, they ask for CVs instead of resumes, and that's more of a comprehensive summary of every position, every publication, every presentation. So that's a different case. But ideally, 1 to 2 pages is best. And again, the most relevant information you should try to fit on the first third or the first half of the first page, because that's what the review committee is going to be looking at the most. It's really important to make sure that your resume is readable. So you want to do all the work for the reader. So having enough white space on the page so that it's easy for the reader to follow, using clear, concise bullets, not making the reader jump around from left to right and down and left again. Make it easy for them, easy to read, easy to follow, lots of white space, clear and concise. I wanted to just have one slide about applicant tracking systems. I don't know how familiar people are with these, but a lot of companies use applicant tracking systems as a first pass for reviewing all the resumes that come in. So a company like Maine Health or IDEX or WEX, they get so many resumes. And so they're most likely going to be using an algorithm to sort through the resumes, searching for keywords to decide who gets a real human being looking at their resume and who doesn't. Because of this, it's really important to keep your format simple. So no fancy icons or images or graphs or pictures, because the applicant tracking system will not read those. It doesn't know how to read them. The algorithm is also going to be looking for keywords. So when you are reading a job description, you want to make sure that the things they are looking for, the things that they say they're looking for in the job description, that you have some of those keywords in your actual resume, if those apply, obviously. So that's really important. If you know that a person is going to be reading your resume, not just an applicant tracking system, like if you have a contact through someone who's going to give your resume to someone who's at the company, then you might want to create two formats of your resume, one that will get through the applicant tracking system and one that maybe looks a little prettier for the person that you're sending it to. So when I'm helping people with resumes, the first thing I ask them to do, or the first thing that we do together, is to print out the description and go through with a highlighter and highlight the key skills they're looking for, the key requirements, just to help pull out and make sense of what it is they're really asking for. And once you've done that, you want to look at, if you have a resume from before, or as you're drafting out a new resume, to list those keywords and figure out how you're going to work those into your resume, whether it's in a summary statement or your skills section or your bulleted list of your job responsibilities. Those keywords really need to be in there. Again, always keeping in mind that you're applying to that specific job and that specific organization. And then also coming to it from a viewpoint of what value do I add to this organization, and making sure that you get that across in your resume, also in your cover letter, but we're talking about resumes today. So these are different sections that should be in a resume. Obviously, you have your header and your contact information at the top, and I'll go through each of these specifically in terms of format and content. But so you've got your header and your contact information at the top. It used to be that people would put an objective at the top of the resume. So an objective might say, desire finding a full-time position in geriatric nursing or something. That's very simplified, but basically an objective is telling the reader what you're looking for. People don't recommend doing that anymore. That has been replaced with a career summary, which instead of telling someone what you're looking for, it's telling the organization what you have to offer. So it's more about, I can provide this to you instead of what I want from you, if that makes sense. And I'll go over a couple examples of that. Then a skills section. This, again, needs to align with the job description. It's sort of a overview or highlight of things that are in your bullets from your various jobs in the past. So you're, again, doing the work for the reader, like pulling out the meatiest part of what you can do and putting it either near the top of the resume, which I actually prefer because, again, that 6 to 8 seconds, or some people do put it at the bottom of a resume. Then you've got your work history, always in reverse chronological order, remembering that the first job you list, your most recent, is going to get the most attention from the hiring committee. And then you want to have about 2 to 5 bullets, maybe 6 bullets max for each position, using the most bullets for the most recent position and sort of paring down as you go back. It's great to have a section on your credentials or professional memberships. Any volunteer experience is great. And then your education. And so if you've been out of school for, say, more than 7 years, 10 years, you can put your education at the bottom. But if you're a recent graduate, then you want to put that near the top. Okay, so when we're talking about the heading at the top of your resume, where you've got all your contact information, you want that heading to be clear right at the top, usually in a little bigger font than the rest of your resume, either centered or flush left. Make sure you include your degree and your credentials. You do not need to include your full street address, so just your town and state is fine. You don't need that extra stuff in there. Make sure that any email address you provide sounds professional. You know, people have some funky email address names, and you just got to pay attention to what you're putting out there. So make sure you have a professional sounding email address. And then assuming you have a LinkedIn profile, which I highly recommend everyone who's looking for a job does, include a link to your LinkedIn profile at the top of your resume. So this is just an example. This is me. Got my name a little bigger than the rest, Kennebunk. That's my work number, that's my email, and that's my LinkedIn. And just a LinkedIn note while we're here. When you have a LinkedIn account, you can actually create your own LinkedIn name. So usually by default, instead of at the end where it says Anush Y. Hansen, it'll give like a gobbledygook set of numbers and letters, and it looks really messy. It's great, it's really easy to do if you can go in and update your LinkedIn profile so you have it as your name. It looks neater, more professional. Okay, again, so moving on to the career summary, as I mentioned before, this replaces the objective statement. It should be a short paragraph, maybe 2 to 4 sentences, 4 sentences tops. This describes who you are, what you bring to the organization, what value you add, describes your experience, specialties, and strengths, and also can help tie your work history together if it's not as sort of linear or clear cut in terms of what kinds of jobs you've had. And it helps the reader to understand how your transferable skills could relate to the role that you're applying for. You don't have to use a career summary. Some people don't like to take up that space at the top. They rather have more room to focus on their skills and their work history. But a summary is really nice, one for someone who has a long track record in their work, they're established in their career, and it just gives us a place for someone to describe a little bit more of who they are and how they got there and why they are committed to this kind of work. A summary is also great if you're changing careers. It can help you sort of pull the pieces together, weave them together, even if your past experience might not obviously fit in with the role you're applying to. This is your opportunity to weave it together for the reader to kind of set the scene for the rest of your resume. So this is a slide with a lot of words on it, but I did want to give a couple examples of some career summary statements. So this one, top one, expert communicator with 10+ years of experience dedicated to community development and advocacy within the field of education, strong public speaking, teaching, and facilitating skills for diverse student, professional, and general audiences, extensive involvement in all levels of relationship building, marketing, and program development, proven ability to manage multiple projects while meeting challenging deadlines. So it's clear, you know, what this person does, what they have to offer, and you know what their expertise is. The second one is one that I helped a newer graduate write who really wanted to make a case for the position that she was applying to. Responsible, hardworking, and professional, recent natural resources conservation graduate, strongly committed to continuing a career in environmental conservation, stewardship, and education, experienced in wildlife rehabilitation and management, forest research and fieldwork, and ArcMap GIS, with strong administrative and computer skills, particularly passionate about educating and connecting youth to nature and animals, with demonstrated experience planning educational activities for children. So even though she's new to this field and only has internship experience, this tells the hiring manager why she wants this type of position and what she feels she has to offer. So those are just two examples. If you want more examples, you can certainly Google career summary statements and you'll get hundreds, if not thousands. So it's nice to have some examples as you're getting started on this. So whether you do your skills section at near the top of your resume or near the bottom, this is where you're pulling out your hard skills that are relevant to the job you're applying to. Again, you want to weave in any keywords that you can based on the job posting. Use bullets, commas, or short descriptors. This is putting your most valuable assets at the top of the resume. Again, I like when it's put at the top, but it's really a judgment call based on your choice. And this also is another way to help get through the applicant tracking system. So getting as many of those keywords in there while still making it sound readable. So these are 3 different skills statement examples. So this person at the top listed it just with commas. So business development, digital marketing, creative development, marketing plans, budget planning, market research, MS Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, ... Then this is a client down below who I helped out. So under clinical skills, she had clinical intake assessment, diagnosis and treatment planning, EMDR, EFT, CBT, and mindfulness. So like these are some key skills that the job description was asking for, an EMDR therapist. So she's got EMDR in there. Case management, clinical consultation, crisis management, health record management. And then to the right under skills, this is just one I pulled from online. So this person has actually categorized the skills. And if you have a lot of different types of skills, that's a nice way to, again, make it easier for the reader to get a picture for what you can offer. So visual design, 3D modeling, programming, and then this person put their interests. So for your experience section, and this is your job history, again, you want 2 to 5 bullets per position. The person reviewing your resume is going to spend the most time on the most recent position, so that's where you want the majority of your description. It's really, really, really important to summarize your accomplishments in your past positions, not just your responsibilities. So what I mean by that is, like, what problems did you solve? What things did you develop? How many people did you reach? Like how can you quantify or qualify what you do or what you did? So examples of quantifying your accomplishments would be dollars saved, so revenue earned, dollars saved, number of people reached, number of people served, number of products developed, how often you do something, how many people you oversee, things like that. Oops. So here's an example of sort of a before and after. So you could say, responsible for chairing the student event promotional committee versus chaired promotional committee of 12 and presented marketing plans to an audience of 40 to 60 students at weekly university Senate meetings open to all 2,000 community members. So there's a huge difference in what you are sharing with the hiring manager there. So that's really important for your job history section of your resume. So this is sort of a fake resume that I helped a few different clients with. I've taken off names and identifying information. I put my information at the top primarily. But I just wanted to show an example of a combination resume. And this is how I typically, not always, like I've worked with people who are in academia or who haven't wanted to do the summary statement or the skills. But this is sort of overall how I tend to help people organize their resumes. So we've got the contact information at the top, plenty of white space, organized in a clear way so that it's easy for the reader to follow. So this person has their summary statement at the top, some key skills. One of the people who I kind of pulled from for this resume, they actually had clinical skills and graphic design skills. And so we actually categorized her skills that way, but I didn't put that all in here just because I wanted to make it a fake resume. So these key clinical skills, then we move on to clinical experience, and then her current job is here kind of in the middle. So if she's applying for a social worker position somewhere, the person reviewing this is going to see at the top, she's a highly experienced LCSW, skilled at working with children, adolescents, and adults. She helps work with trauma, anxiety, dissociation, and other concerns, special ed, strongly committed to supporting clients in their healing growth and promoting their health. So that kind of tells them who she is. And then she's got her hard skills underneath. And then she's got her most recent position under experience. And so if that's all they read, she's probably going to get an interview for a social worker position. They can keep reading. This person had 20, 25 years experience, although it's not all on here. But so it does move to the next page. She's got her professional certifications near the bottom, and then education, because she graduated a long, long time ago. So that's typically how I work with clients when it comes to resumes. Hopefully this is helpful in understanding the different types of sections and what is really important to pay close attention to in terms of content and format. And that's all I have for you. So, Laura, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Also, if people watch this later, recorded, you're welcome to reach out to me by email if you have any other questions.
Yes, thank you. You're right in Kennebunk, and your contact information is right there.
Yep.
Yeah, so basically resumes are no place to be humble. You really have to put yourself out there and, talk about your best assets using those keywords. That's always, I think, a hard part getting over writing a resume is putting it all out there.
Yeah, I definitely have clients start, say, I don't want to brag, I feel like I'm being too pushy or things like that, which I totally understand. But this is what's going to get you in the door for an interview. And if this person going through all the resumes is getting 200 resumes for one position, then you want to share your assets and
yes, you have to.
Why you'll shine and why you will add more value than someone else.
Mm-hmm.
The accomplishment piece is huge.
Right. I think another hard part is paring down your experience sometimes. If college grads are in a different case, but anybody that has a couple years of experience, it starts to add up quickly. So you really have to, sounds like you really have to prioritize.
Right. So you don't have to put every task that you complete every day of the week in your resume. You want to pull out the most important, most impressive, and most relevant accomplishments and responsibilities as they relate to the job that you're applying to. But yeah, it's really hard to pare it down. For sure.
Do you recommend folks, kind of starting? I know when I first did it, I did my resume years and years ago, but it was like 3 pages long. But I just wanted to get it all out there. And then do you recommend paring it down? Or is there any methodology for you?
I think it really depends on how you work best, but it certainly can't hurt to just put it all out there on the page and then try to see how you might be able to collapse certain items on there. You usually can figure out what you can get rid of. Like if there's something on there that you really want to include, but it doesn't relate to the position, you got to think about, why is this important for me to have on my resume, and what purpose does it serve? What value does it add in terms of making me a strong candidate? Because you want the person reading your resume to read the stuff that will get you an interview. So if you have too much on there and the reader is overwhelmed and can't tell which pieces are relevant and which aren't, they're just going to move on to the next one. So you have to really think hard about what information you want to have in the, precious real estate that you are allotted for your resume.
Right, right. So do you recommend starting with a base resume and then customizing it? Sounds like that's what you had said earlier, to customize it to each and every specific job position.
Yeah. So some people, like I worked with a client who wanted a sort of more general resume that had all their experience on it. And then they wanted a more targeted resume too. So we worked on the, there's a word for it, and I'm just forgetting it right now, but just like a base resume with all their jobs on it. But they wanted to have the formatting and sort of the language, and just they wanted everything ready to go if a certain position popped up that they were interested in, and then they could just pull from it and tailor their resume and like have it ready. So yeah, I mean, if you have the time to do that, I think that's a great approach.
Excellent. Can I just ask you a couple quick questions related to resumes, but most of them I assume are by mail these days. I mean, email. Is there such thing as mail resumes anymore?
Maybe. I think, some smaller organizations or nonprofits maybe will still let you mail in a snail mail resume, but most are either going to be through, applying through LinkedIn or applying through the company's online applicant portal. But honestly, this is like a whole other topic, but 80%, 70 to 80% of jobs aren't even ever posted. It's more about networking,
Right.
finding out about positions before they're posted, knowing someone. So that's why developing a strong professional network, either through LinkedIn or, through a past employer or your alumni association, like that's how you're going to hear about a lot of jobs. And so if you do that and you can get your resume to a person, like to someone's real email account,
Mm-hmm.
Hey, it looks like we both went to X, Y, and Z university. I'm class of blah, blah. I'm really interested in this position that's opening up. I'd like to learn more about what it's like to work there, like maybe set up an informational interview with someone so you can get a connection to the organization you want to work for, because you're always going to have a bigger chance of getting a job if you know someone there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's the protocol with follow-up? Like once you've sent out your resume, is it these days, is it acceptable to email or call, or what's the kind of protocol there?
I think it depends again on the organization. Like they might have an automatic email response when you submit your resume that says, don't call us, we'll call you.
Yeah.
In that case, you don't want to follow up because they've given you clear instructions not to. So I would definitely follow that. But if there isn't a clear protocol out there and you haven't heard anything, after maybe 3 weeks or something, I don't think it hurts to send a friendly, brief email that expresses that you're still interested in this position. And, is there any more information you need from me? Something like that.
Okay.
But especially these days, in COVID world where everything is so slow,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to take longer for those places that are actually hiring to hear back. In most cases, I mean, in some cases, like at grocery stores or health systems where they really need people fast, things might move quickly.
Mhm.
It really depends, kind of case by case.
Right. And not to sidetrack us too much, but cover letters, that sounds like a topic for another day, but how important are those these days?
I think cover letters are really important. I think they offer, I mean, most places ask for them, first of all. So if they ask for them, you definitely need to send one. But it
Yes.
allows to provide a little more context to your resume. It allows your voice to shine through. It's a little more personal, not personal in terms of what you share, but you can write in a way that might make them understand like what your personality is like or how you speak. It just gives more context to the resume, and also gives you more space to tell your story of where you've come from, where you want to be headed, and why you want to work for them. And to show your enthusiasm. Like in a resume, you can't really write about how much you agree with the mission of the organization, or how committed you are to that particular organization, or their mission. So
Right.
it allows for a little more personality.
Absolutely.
For letters too, you want to keep relatively short, less than a page,
Yes. Yep.
in most cases.
Excellent. Right. I don't see we have any other further questions.
Okay.
So thank
All
you. This
right.
has been super helpful. I know we have a whole new wave of college grads coming out, entering the workforce, and some high schoolers will choose to enter the workforce right from high school. So this is super timely. And unfortunately, COVID-19 has changed our landscape of the workforce. A lot of people are laid off,
Yeah.
so have to look to change directions, or yeah. So very timely. Thank you, Anush.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You can find Anush at Anush@kennebunkcounseling.com, or through her website, kennebunkcounseling.com. So thank you very much, Anush.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Have a great day. We will have this webinar broadcasted on the Chamber of Commerce YouTube page by tomorrow, and I will send a link posted on our Facebook page. So catch you later.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.